Here we go. Okay. So the first one's in there. So every meeting which I have with my team, I always have a quote. And this one's from Wendell Berry. The earth is what we all have in common.
Nice.
Okay.
Good quote.
Do you guys usually approve the meetings, or you just kind of skip that part? I'm just going with my commission. If you guys normally skip it, I'll just pass over it.
I'm sorry, what was the question? Do we usually what?
You usually vote on the meetings, on the
Vote?
notes?
No, we don't usually do that.
Okay, let's skip over it then. Okay, I am going to pass this on to John, and he's going to discuss.
Oh,
John, you still with us?
yeah.
Okay.
Hold a second.
Sure, sure.
Hold a second. I think I'm permanently muted here. Hold a second. Let me get out of this. Okay, get it. Can you hear?
Mm-hmm. You just tell me, John, when to go to the next page.
John, now you're muted. You weren't muted before.
Okay, yeah. So last hub meeting, I started thinking a little bit about some of the discussion we're having about the next steps of plastic bags and some of the work we've done with banning and ordinances and that sort of thing. And it just got me thinking about just a little presentation. It's just more of a something that gets to think about this particular stream of materials that aren't really properly accounted for. And so again, just want to run through it quickly, just as I say, just more of a conversation starter or anything else. And the backdrop to this is Larry Bogart, who's not with us at this particular moment, had agreed to take on the responsibility of trying to get a subcommittee, a hub subcommittee, to look at what are the next steps with our plastic bag bans and ordinances, and where do we go from here? And again, this is more of just a conversation starter. So I tell you what, go on. Bill, let me ask you a question. Are you running this as a slide presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So when you click it, I tell you what, just start clicking in rapid fire. You could do that, or I could load it from this end, and you could give me permission to run it from this end, and I could click. But either way, it's fine. So just click ahead. So anyways, just a chemistry lesson, polyethylene is just a repeating unit of 2 carbon units. So that makes it, so ethylene. And so it just, the properties of polyethylene is really determined by how many little chains you have together and some of, their structure and how they're laid down, that sort of thing. But it is one of our recycle streams. It's either 2 or 4, depending on its density or its molecular weight. And so the thing that I really want to focus on a little bit is that we're talking about polyethylene films. So you can go ahead and switch. So anyways, the polyethylene films have a kind of unique property. It kind of separates from all the rest of the plastic films. One is that they stretch in one way, and hit the other slide, and then they stretch in the other way. So if you look, it's like 90 degrees to one another. And so some films will rip, some films will only pull in one direction, some films won't pull at all, but this is a property of polyethylene, and I'll explain why that's important later. So go on. So what polyethylene films are not, is they're not tubs and containers like that. Those I call rigid, so they're not plastic bottles, even though those are polyethylene bottles. And some of the plastic tubs there are polyethylene, but films are not rigid plastic articles, okay? And they're not the milk jug either, okay? So this is really kind of a home film collection pattern that we do. But anyways, so right there on the right-hand side, on the left picture, that just shows our little, where we kind of, our satellite collection for plastic films. And then the end result goes there where we have a whole bunch of bags that are ready to be taken out. Now, for the purposes of what we're doing tonight, I just wanted to kind of separate out a little bit and let's think about it a little bit. Because the real question is that, we talk about like polyethylene bags and these convenience items that we produce in the the billions of units that just end up in all the wrong places and are rarely recycled, and our attempts to try to reduce that. But on the right-hand side, what I want to show is, now I don't know if it's like full screen or if you can see, but on the right-hand side is everything else. So what I did is I separated, the plastic grocery bags and shopping bags on the left side, and on the right side is the all other types of polyethylene films. So let's move on from here. And so these are it's polyethylene, and trust me, I'm a material scientist with polymers, so I know what I'm talking about here. I hate to think that most consumers have to have a advanced degree to know which is which material, but it's pretty complicated sometimes. But anyways, these are all films. These are all ones that are not grocery bags, but they're ones that have, at least by us, for years been recycled. So I think if you click, just do a bunch of clicks and see if any names come up here. Yeah, so just click away. So yeah, so it's probably hard to read, but there's everything from shipping plastic bags to grocery bags to to bread bags to secondary packaging for products to bubble wrap to tablecloths and also can rings. So anyways, and then shrink wrap is like it's one category. This is was generically called shrink wrap by Sustainable Jersey, and that's what they originally were talking about, was what was put on boats to store them during the winter. But that's polyethylene too. So move on from here. And if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead. But so the important thing with any kind of recycling program with plastics is to get the right form of it. And like, for example, with the styrofoam program, it's very important that we get the right type of styrofoam that's not dirty or contaminated, mixed with other things. And it's kind of the same way with polyethylene films. So I put it in the middle as like a little flyer. If anyone would like that, I can put that up. It might be up already, but I'd be glad to share that flyer. That's something we developed in Wyckoff, and I also made a version for the hub to use. But basically, it gives instructions of whys and why we do this and hows and what counts as polyethylene films. So you can keep tapping through. So this is the kind of the process right here. We separate the films into, from the films out from the rigid plastics and make sure that things are actually polyethylene. And the way we do that is at one stretch test. So if we can stretch it in one direction and they go 90 degrees the other direction, perpendicular, and pull it in the other one and stretch kind of equally, it's probably polyethylene. And then the last thing is make sure that they're clean and dry, not contaminated, empty, totally empty, and especially in the grocery bags and shopping bags, make sure they don't have any paper receipts. So go on. And then there's actually a part 2 to this, because there's more than you might think. So like Ziploc bags need to have the actual zipper taken off, label, like shipping packages, which are mostly polyethylene. In certain cases, the label's taken off. And secondary, and then some of the packaging needs labels taken off, and magazine covers need to have the mailing label taken off. So, price tags on bread bags, all these type of things need to have removed. And so, since we're talking about plastic bags and sustainability and the use of polyethylene, how significant are other polyethylene films that we in terms of amount we use? So, I did like a quick study to sort of look at bags versus all other things in terms of the amounts. And this is during, we had started a big collection kind of back in February when everything kind of shut down, and many grocery stores, stopped taking the bags for recycling. And also they wouldn't let you use, a lot of times they wouldn't let you use reusable grocery bags or shopping bags because they were contaminated with COVID virus, so they wanted to be safe. But it was just a time where we could collect, about 6 months of bags And this is for a family that varied from 2 to 5. And it's say just to kind of look to see the
John, you're back on mute.
oh, so can you, I'm sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, you can go
Yeah, you're back.
go on now. And so from the left, that was all that was unsorted, and then they were sorted into 2 piles. So on the left-hand side was grocery bags, and then on the right-hand side was everything else. Now, we're a family that really, really, really tries hard to use the reusable bags. We're not perfect at that, and we'll be the first to say that. We try hard, but as they say, merchants made it hard to use your own bags, and it just kind of accumulates. So anyways, you can move on. And so anyways, the crux of what we did here is we just weighed out what was our collection. And anyways, what we found out was that, all the other films, and again, these are the films that labels have been removed, bubbles and bubble wrap have been squeezed out as much as possible. But it came out to be about almost 2.5 times more by weight, of these films. And so, again, the conclusion I draw from this is that the films are a significant volume of material, and they really should fall in the same category of responsible material use, which is they should be, if we don't need it, let's just reduce our use, just try to reuse it, find a good use for it, and then last thing is to recycle. What the real big gist of it is we really just don't want the stuff to be going to the environment. That is to say, to landfills or to the landscape. This is a material that is very impervious. So it has a lifetime of 1,000 to 10,000 years in the environment. And we really don't know super well what happens with plastic materials in the environment when they break down. And the indications are it's not really good. So it is something,
John,
yeah.
did you want us to ask questions now, or did you want us to wait till the end?
I'm just about finished. So really,
Okay.
yeah, just another sentence or two. And so again, my argument is that we have to look kind of holistically at all the things that we can do with kind of reducing the demand for plastic bags and finding alternatives, but also we have to really keep options for recycling films out there, because they're materials that are going to continue to be used. And I just don't think it's acceptable to be sending those to landfill where they're going to be there for thousands and thousands of years, particularly because these things have value. They have value in terms of reuse. They have, thermal or BTU value. They're just materials that we shouldn't be wasting. So that's really the long and short was wanted to just present in this brief kind of presentation. So questions?
Hey, John, this is three. This is Jay. I have 3 questions. I'll start with one. You said that we should try to stop using these other PE films. When you say we, do you mean our society and the nation as a whole, or are you saying that individuals should stop using them? Because I don't have the sense that I can actually stop using any of the stuff on the right. I can stop using plastic bags on the left, but the stuff that I get comes packaged in that, so I can't really eliminate that. Is that right?
I think you're right on that. That we are pretty much powerless. I mean, these things come to us in packaging. In fact, I think Amazon really has decided that the plastic packaging is more recyclable and is promoting that. And yeah, so we don't have a lot of control over this. I mean, there is kind of gratuitous over packaging for sure. And that's something I think that we should push back on. But by and large, we're not at the table when marketing decisions are made in terms of how something's going to be packaged, or when engineers decide, this is how they're going to get product A to point B or something like that.
Thanks. Also, another question. At the beginning, you said we should try to recycle number 2 and number 4 films. And I heard you talk about the stretch test. I've never looked at a bag so closely. Does a bag actually have a symbol, number 2 or number 4, that I can look at it?
Yes, yeah, they do. I think the bags are mostly number 4, which makes it high density polyethylene. but you'll see both 2 and 4. Really the recycling symbols are pretty meaningless, and as I say, most times they're not labeled. I mean, if I did a count of all the things that were labeled with the polymer identity, it would probably only be like maybe 10% of all that whole collection.
Thanks.
Actually, my next slide, which I'm gonna jump into real quick, just to show you what at least the state is doing. I don't know if you heard about this, but they just passed legislation that's supposed to be signed by Murphy. I'll get back to that in a second, which is gonna prohibit the sale. Now, it depends on the square footage of the supermarket. So they're actually carving out small supermarkets that can still use plastic bags, like bodegas and stuff like that. But in general, at a supermarket, this is going to be in 2 years' time. They will ban all single-use carry-out bags. They'll actually even ban single-use paper carry-out bags. And that's actually, I'll discuss that in a quick second, as well as the polystyrene foam that's, you get on the meats, you get on, ground beef or chicken, the bottom part, which is, of course, is all foam. And also going to limit single-use straws. Just a little caveat, the last time this came up, Murphy vetoed it, but he vetoed it because he did not like the fact that the supermarkets were charging a fee for plastic bags. So hopefully this time around, he will not veto it. I'm surprised, personally speaking, that it got this far. There was a lot of resistance, of course, but believe it or not, the paper carry-out bag section was included because of the supermarkets. They wanted it in there. Their view is, if you're going to make us charge more, we're going to take paper bags, which are more expensive for us anyway. So that's kind of a weird situation where they knew that I think this is going to go past anyway. This, by the way, is the strongest legislation in the United States as of right now. So New Jersey being the front runner for plastic legislation is kind of a strange thing, but hey, it is what it is. I'll take it where I can. But that was actually a funny carve out that they wanted the paper carry-out ban also. This would be great. I think it's a learning curve. I think it's going to, if it does pass, but I think it's a good start in the right direction. And again, we'll get a lot of these plastic films out. The thing I've been reading a lot about is that a lot of the products that the supermarket gets are already wrapped in plastic. So now they have to remove it in the carry-out, in the format that they got delivered in, and repackage it into an eco-friendly way. So in one way or another, they're still going to be wasting plastic. My answer to that is bigger plastic is less likely to go into the oceans and the streams, and we force management to recycle than small plastic, like those clamshells that I get my berries in. So this is good legislation. I think hopefully it'll be positive going forward.
I have a question for John. This is Ken.
Ken.
Hi, John. Yeah, that was a great presentation. Thanks. So are you proposing then that really a lot of this is about education, and we need to go back to our towns and tell them, hey, that's great. We're recycling plastic bags. I mean, it's even better that they're going to be banned soon, but still there's going to be bags to recycle. We also, by the way, can recycle polyethylene coming in the form of film, the types of film that is on your ground beef or whatever, and then educate them about extra precautions that need to be done to make sure that's a fairly pure product. That's basically what you're aiming at.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, that consumer education, like in our towns, as it kind of happens, is not really good. I mean, I see plastic bags continually put into the recycling, and so my guess is most people haven't quite figured out that, or have gone the extra step of like sorting out their plastic bags and taking to the grocery store. That's all we really have. One of the things I think is notable, and Bill, Mark Owens can talk about this in terms of what they're doing at. I'm just drawing a blank on the town that has come up. They've got their own plastic film baler, and so from that standpoint, yes, that's right. Yeah, Inglewood. They have purchased what I would take as a 1,000-pound baler, which is the commercial commodity unit of plastic polyethylene films. And I assume that they're making that a recycling service for the residents, which would be really nice. So yeah, to your point, the education is like really lacking in our towns. I know it's especially lacking in our town of Wyckoff. And that's really one of the next targets there. So yeah, there's a big opportunity to try to do the right thing here.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I thought. And I know that you created some nice posters which go in that, towards that, end of educating. Is this something that you would be willing to kind of, maybe refine and then send out to the hub members? Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just that, or something, kind of maybe with some additional instructions for keeping it, how to get rid of labels and what needs to be done to make it, the pure product. I think that would, we could post that on our town, in our borough hall, for example. At least a minimal effort, we can put it in our calendars, which have information about recycling, and just start to get the word out there.
I also saw too on some of the emails is that some of the places that we used to go to drop off plastic films no longer accepts that. I know a supermarket by me was accepting. I don't know if that's still the case. But
Yeah, there's lots of changes going on. One program that that we implemented in Ramsey that helps from the education perspective is the Trex Challenge. Trex, the decking company, has a challenge where if you collect this plastic film, right, it can be from plastic bags, it can be overwrap, it can be dry cleaner bags. If you collect 500 pounds of it in 6 months, I believe it is, you can get a Trex bench, and then you can put that somewhere in your town. And we found it was very helpful to educate the public. We put bins in several locations, and then ultimately had them bring it to the recycling center.
Yeah, I think the Trex program was a great one because it really showed a demonstrable result of
Yes.
Collecting all the polyethylene, and so people, participants could get a bench, for their town that would be commemorated to them. I think that's a great thing, and I was gonna put a pitch out there. Again, Larry's not here, but I was gonna put a pitch. For anyone that's really interested in this, I think that there is some kind of, background work that we need to do on the hub kind of committee level to understand what's the opportunities and what's the next steps. My biggest concern is that, I see grocery stores, backing out largely from their desire to take plastic films back. Even though it's a money-making operation for them, I think some grocery stores haven't started taking it back yet, and it's actually a little bit of a hassle to find ones that do. So there's more afoot than simply getting everyone to do the right thing. It's just there's hard things that are coming the way to allow us to be able to recycle this stream and to do the right responsible practice with using this material.
Yeah, John, I also think that with the phase out of plastic bags, they'll be less incentivized to do the program. People not using plastic bags at their stores, why are they going to accept them anymore? So yes, that's going to be a big challenge going forward.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
John,
mean,
it's I was going to say, we're really going to need your leadership on this at the state level, and maybe we all can take in. But for example, I've been pushing Recycle Coach for my community, and I just got signed off from the administrator. It looks like they're going to start doing it. Recycle Coach, though, says that plastic wrap and wrappers is trash. Plastic overwrap is a special item. Bubble wrap is trash. And bale wraps, whatever those are, is a special item. So, I mean, just even those, I'll say plastic, right? It's very confusing for the consumer.
Yeah, and that's, and again, like for example, Recycle Coach doesn't quite give the right information about like styrofoam, it seems like we missed some opportunities where we could have connected, information provided on Recycle Coach to some of our collection events. Recycle Coach is in control of the town administrations, really. So Carol Peterson may have more information about this, but there's been information that's provided on Recycle Coach I'm not so happy with. And so the default is that like, hey, we just throw this all in the garbage. And we are struggling with, many recycling programs getting very strict and wanting to have more sorting and more pure material come through. I mean, in our town, we can't have bottle caps on. It's only 2, 1, 2, and 4, and 5, I guess, also. But the thing, it's very curtailed, and we are throwing a lot more in the trash, because the last thing I want to do is I don't want us to be, producing more trash by trying to recycle polyethylene films the wrong way. There's only one way that we can really do it where it has a value. So that's important for this particular program.
Yeah, also the recyclers would, once something is contaminated, they can't do anything with it. So they would urge folks to err on the side of, if in doubt, or if you can't clean it, don't include it. Because again, then they don't get paid if the loads are contaminated.
So, Riva, I read a lot of that stuff about contamination, and I've talked to my trash and garbage recycler in town, because when I've gone to a recycling center and I see our plastic bins, it's filled with garbage, tons of material that are not recyclable. And I've asked the recycling coordinator, I said, do you ever get any feedback from the hauler about the quality of our recycling and what's actually happening to it? Because I keep thinking, everything that I read says there's no way they're going to spend the time to sort that. And she told me they visited, and they have the huge machines and all the people sorting it. Do you think the sorters are actually getting through and recycling recyclable materials, or does anyone have any firsthand experiences whether or not these residential recycling streams are actually being recycled?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You first.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so there's lots of information out there. It goes through multiple. The haulers take it to what they call an MRF, right? And they have the pickers there, and then they will take it and send it to its next location. So I know that there are specifications that are put together by an organization called the Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries. And if it has a certain amount or percentage of contamination, they won't get paid for it. So, but I've not been to any of those MRFs recently to know, how that's working. And then again, you have the whole making sure that the haulers are doing the right thing, right? I mean, there's so many steps along the way.
I was going to say, I remember when we used to offshore everything, the criteria was a lot lower about what was clean and what's not.
Yes.
Now when in doubt, because of to just squeak out any profits they possibly can make, when in doubt, throw it away. So.
There's an interesting story to polyethylene film, because it is for MRFs, it is poison for them, because what happens is when it's mixed with the rigid articles like aluminum cans and plastic bottles and other type things that can be recycled, what happens is this plastic film gets caught up in the gears, and these machines, which actually chop up the materials once they're sorted, and it just brings everything to a halt. So what an MRF will do is they will use like these vacuum suction things, and they will suck up these plastic bags and films out of the stream. So it has to be removed. And so that's the reason why I haven't really heard of many curbside polyethylene film recycling operations happening. Yeah, so there's an interesting story. I found out like our town was using a recycling in Patterson called Green Star, and they were vacuuming out the plastic bags and films, but then they made a really beautiful 1,000-pound bale, and they showed a picture of it to us, and it looked wonderful. And then I asked, well, what are you doing with it? And they go, well, we throw it away. Oh, I said, well, but like Georgia Pacific, I mean, they would take that, and that's their business to recycle that. But again, that was kind of shocking. But they had vacuum removal, they had baling, 1,000-pound baling of it, but they were just throwing it away. And yeah, so that's the problem with polyethylene films, plastic films in general, in the MRFs.
Okay, I'll just move rapidly along. Okay, any reports from the committees? If not,
William?
yes, ma'am?
Hi, I'm sorry, my son just popped in. I didn't answer soon enough. So just to go back to the plastic bags for a minute, on Basecamp, we have two different files set up. One is Bergen plastic bag recycling, and there's 21 people in that group. And the other one is Bergen single-use plastics, and there's 16 in that group. Now, I'm just mentioning this because I think if we're going to move forward on this initiative, we probably need to decide which one we're using and consolidate them or figure out. And I can talk to Lauren about that, or if anyone has comment on it, I just would like to raise it and give everyone a chance to comment. If anyone knows why we have two, or if it's okay that we pick one and move forward with it. So I just wanted to raise that for everyone if they have a comment. Thank you.
Yeah, and to my kind of appeal earlier, I do think that we need to form a kind of a bona fide subcommittee and to look at it, look at this particular issue and consolidate and to figure out the history here and what towns have done and what other members of the hub have done and see what's next. So anyways, I'm hoping Larry will help pull this together. And again, if you have the interest to help work in this area, it's a big area. I mean, it sort of underlies the whole issue of single-use pollution, and it's an important one to get right now, because we're really facing really tough headwinds from the industry, single-use plastics are not going away, and they're only going to increase, as far as I can see.
Okay. Any update on the styrofoam project? I know we had a little issue with the corporation that was accepting them.
Yeah, so Mark Olson had dug up a bunch of information, and I'd received information too. We had two commercial expanded polystyrene recyclers. One was in Springfield, that was polymolding, and then, that's foam pack. And then in Haskell, we had polymolding. Polymolding, unfortunately, kind of went to a cost model where they charged every load of expanded polystyrene coming in. And so that was kind of a shock. But I was hoping that we could have conversations with the owner of that company and to find out what's behind that, and to see if there's not a path forward where they might be more willing to accept polystyrene. I just am not sure what's going on there, and Mark might have more information about that. That said, I did see some notes that there is money left in our grant funding that I sort of understand that might be available for more demonstration EPS recycling demonstrations. Springfield, and Foam Pack will take our foam free of charge. It's a little bit further down there, but we do have to follow the rules in terms of it being, the correct type, for not contaminated, being EPS and not the, the XPS type. And again, we can give a lot of, we have a lot of information about what's good, and we try to disseminate that information to the towns and the recycling programs that are out there. But right now we're been frozen a little bit with kind of continuing on with styrofoam recycling. I see it out in the trash all the time. And a lot of people still think that, it goes into the recycling. The good news is the last town, Glen Rock, was able to do a drive last August, which was great. And I'm really hoping that we are able to do another drive, again, when it's suitable and safe to do, perhaps in the spring, because it would be really a very valuable thing to keep going, I think, for our county.
Yeah, I can provide an update for what Glen Rock is doing. We did have quarterly collections this year, and we will do another one in November. But again, unfortunately, because of demand, just even among Glen Rock, and because of COVID, it's really going to be a Glen Rock only event. We filled 2 containers last time. And so we're going to be hauling it out this weekend.
Oh.
I also spoke with Adam Korn at Polymolding and confirmed that we do have an $85 charge per drop-off. I got him to agree that should only be a one-time charge. So even though we're dropping off 2 containers worth, he's going to charge us $85. And I've spoken with our council liaison about that, and she thinks that's actually perfectly fine. It's not an onerous fee. I know other towns have been really turned off by this, and I agree it's a turnoff, but I don't think it should really stop us from using their service, in particularly because they're so much closer than Springfield. You're going to spend that much in gas or U-Haul fees just going to Springfield and back. So I don't think it's worth it. And he seems still, he's very eager to work with us. So I was encouraged by that. And the last thing I'll say is that Glen Rock is going to be moving to having our styrofoam recycling a DPW organized event. We don't know how that's going to look yet. So we're not sure what we're going to be doing next year, but we definitely need the DPW to eventually take that on. And we do have support from our council liaison to have that. The other thing I'll just mention is that I know that Christine has been working on a summary, and maybe she wants to present it at a later time. I just wanted to, put a shout out there that I think we do need to have a a summary of what we've accomplished, which I think is really good. Before our collective memory fades. And I'd be happy to help out with that.
Yes, Ken, thank you for mentioning that. So a big piece of the conclusion of the project is to really get the numbers so that we can show how much styrofoam we took out of the waste stream. So that's really the piece that we're waiting on, is the actual numbers from the drive. So I believe John was working on that, and maybe Mark, or I don't know, but if we could just get some kind of numbers on the drives, then I think that's the missing piece of the puzzle. But Ken, I think also you wanted to indicate which municipalities were doing permanent collections on site and stuff, I think, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful because then we can also kind of share, best practices, what works and what doesn't work, and when the DPWs take it over, in which towns have
Yes.
been able to do it. Yep.
In Oradell, our DPW is collecting the EPS. We have a large container. I think it's like 17 cubic yards or something like that. And they just dropped off the second load of the sorted and bagged EPS. I think it went to Springfield again. So
Okay.
we do have permanent collection. And we use the BCUA grant money to buy the container.
Great. And but does the Oradell Green Team or Environmental Commission kind of, do they oversee any of the bagging or the material to make sure
Yes.
it's
So
pure?
what we do, yeah, we have green team members who go, we have high school volunteers. We actually have 2 families that come with their kids.
Great.
Yeah, so, they sort through it, and I've done it once, and it's really pretty good. People are pretty cognizant of what type of styrofoam to put in there, so it's not that bad. And they bag it up and make sure it's, watertight, and then the DPW brings it over. So I know in discussion was that $83 or $85 fee. So I think they went back to, was it Springfield that did not charge it? I'm not sure.
Correct.
But
They don't charge.
yes, I think they brought it back there again. That just happened.
Okay, that's good to hear. That's a success. I think we'll actually try to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, and people are really eager and they drop it off, and it's just working out really well.
And roughly, do you know how often they're having to take it, to cart it away?
I think they did one in the early winter, and now it's totally full, so they just dropped it off again. So I'd say every 4 months, 5 months.
Okay.
4 months maybe,
I
yeah.
think when we get to the holiday
Just
season, it'll probably
started doing
increase.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I was going to
so I
say,
think it'll be more often.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I was going to say, I can't take the lead on this, but if somebody could take the lead in conferring with Polly Molding and Haskell soon, because I do suspect with the holidays coming up, there's just going to be more styrofoam and a big opportunity.
What specifically, Jay, what's your question?
I thought you were suggesting that we need to go back to the Polly Molding and Haskell and talk to that owner to see what's going on and make sure that he's going to be receptive to.
So that,
were you just trying to get rid of the fee, or were you trying to facilitate the town deliveries?
I have an update.
as receptive as ever. And he bought a new machine with larger capacity. So he is, I think as long as we can continue to deliver high quality EPS to him, he's more than happy to take it. He will charge a fee to offset the cost of this new equipment, which Glenrock is okay with. And he seems to be very, very happy to take it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we should assume, that he will be taking it at least for, I don't know if he's willing to do like, any contractual contracts or anything like that. I know that can be tricky, but he seems to be very, he has the right mind frame, I think. Frame of mind. He sees this as a valuable resource, and he doesn't want to go into landfills.
Okay, let's just move on, guys.
I want to add one little quick note,
Yes, Mark.
just so everybody knows. A lot of your recyclables, your municipalities have to pay to get rid of them right now, non-styrofoam, except cardboard. But just so you know, and they charge a lot more than $85 a load for the other stuff. That's it. That's the end of my comment.
Thanks.
Okay, this is just a topic, and how much time you guys want to spend on it. This is something that's been going back and forth on Basecamp, as posted out there. We are trying to, in Crystal, we're trying to make an ordinance in there that has some sort of rain capture for new construction. Of course, hitting some resistance. Any comments, suggestions? You have it?
There is, I sat in on a seminar meeting a couple of weeks ago. There is a new rule in New Jersey that if you do I'm not going to remember this precisely right, but if you do a modification of over 250 square feet, you have to mitigate rainwater, stormwater runoff.
So that's on the books. That's on the books now in New Jersey?
It's on the books. I don't know if it's enforced right now, but it's coming and coming fairly soon.
Yeah, I would be very interested in hearing more about that. Somebody in our town recently moved to Ramsey, spent a lot of years in the Czech Republic, and said, you know, they do this all the time in terms of requiring rainwater harvesting. And he was curious as to why, you know, if we weren't doing it, we weren't.
Yeah.
As he noticed, you know, this every other day sprinklers were allowed. And so I did some research, and I guess there was an Assembly Bill 2442 from 2017 that was pending. That's the only thing that I could find. So I'd be really interested in seeing what it is that you're referencing. That would be great.
I think I can explain part of that. There is a new initiative in New Jersey that every municipality must pass a new stormwater management ordinance by March of next year. And it must regulate not only major developments, but also minor developments. And the question of a greater impervious content of coverage over 250 square feet is in the minor development area. And this is one of the provisions of the new regulations that towns will have to look at, select which elements they think are suitable for their own municipality, and pass something suitable by March of next year. That is specifically, that sounded exactly like one of those new provisions that's included in that new draft ordinance.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's coming under the stormwater management piece. That's great.
Hey, Bill, can you, two questions. One is, can you tell us what the anticipated average cost per household would be? And second of all, can you talk about the quality of the water when compared to the water you get from the water company? Do you know?
Yeah, this water is to be used for things like sprinkling, lawn care, right? Not for
No.
not potable.
In the middle there, it says it's potable.
No,
really?
I think I mentioned before is more of stormwater management versus water recycling in a commercial entity. Am I correct?
yes.
Yeah. So so just to recap, what's going on is there's a stormwater management legislation, hopefully that has to be signed by each municipality by next year, which is going to have the more onus on just not having sheer pavement and hope it goes down the sewer and, you know, outside out of mind type of deal, which is great. But what I think also will be nice with what I'm trying to do is also what you were saying before, is trying to use more gray water. You know, when the water comes down off of your roof, it can be used for irrigation or even just for, you know, your toilets versus just, you know, just using the same, especially if you have to treat your water first, just to go back out and have you know, to fertilize to water your grass. So there's two things.
This diagram, though,
this diagram
is
is
RO filter for potable.
yeah, exactly. This diagram is actually home diagram going fine, but this is more for commercial. And this actually the type that my company, the company I work for uses, whereas all the water that are used for toilets are recaptured off of the building, which is a great step in the right direction. We're not in California where we have these, you know, the last time we had a drought was, I think it was like over 15 years ago. But it is there is actually, I'm gonna skip a page down. If I put the slide here, I'll be happy. No. Okay. I didn't put the slide here, but this is something that happened recently. It was announced from Suez Water. So I am trying to use my memory, which is not always accurate, but on average, New Jersey loses around 170 million gallons of water through leaks, pipes, and this is daily, leaky pipes, reservoirs that are not properly sealed, the works. Now, so what that means is that the water is treated and then lost. So at least Suez is spending money on trying to, it's also for themselves too, but trying to eliminate these leaks as well as replace the leaded pipes that are common in some parts of Bergen County. So that's another water issue that's coming on the line that hopefully that they will abide to. But again, I think in East Cresco, we're trying to put legislation in the town that will try to do some recapturing of water, especially for the purposes of irrigation outside.
William, did you say 170 million daily?
Yeah, I can actually get the number. It's for all of New Jersey, not just here, but we have a lot of old infrastructure
Yeah.
in New Jersey, and a lot of the water. And see, the issue that I was reading was, unlike California, which has a constant water issue, New Jersey has, we rarely have a drought situation. So we just have it rain again, and we spill up our reservoirs. It's not a big deal. But unfortunately, energy is being used to treat the water. So is it the right way of doing this? No, it's not. So hopefully by default, they have to fix the lead pipes. So they're also going to address a lot of the leakage issues. So hopefully it's a step in the right direction with Suez.
If I might, Adam Tate, Hillsdale.
Yes, sir.
So real quick, you probably lose water also with sewage lines leaking. So when you go to reclaim it, there's a lot of leaky sewage lines, leaky water lines. ANJEC had a conference on water in the state. Some of these pipes are old cast iron. They even have some places where they use wood for piping. So there's a lot of issues with water loss.
Yep.
I was going to just make a general comment. I believe it's Reba made a report about what they do in the Czech Republic and the way they look at water, stormwater management in the Czech Republic. And it's really a very simple notion here that's worth holding on to, is that rainwater, when it comes down, should stay in place. That is to say that it should not fall into impervious surfaces and run into sewer lines and then run into the waterways if it's possible to avoid that. And so the real problem that we've run into in New Jersey, it's only getting worse, is the rainfall is pretty intense, and it's just getting more intense in terms of the amount that falls. And from a very simple standpoint, in terms of landscaping and the way we design our communities, to keep water in its place when it falls from the sky is really the best strategy here. There's a lot of things going on here, and I think Ben, got this right in terms of the big sea change in New Jersey, where Governor Murphy is I think the word I heard was rain tax was what he was kind of proposing, but it really, any kind of development in New Jersey that alters the water that's retained towards water its runoff is got to be really kind of minimized. And so that's the whole big idea there. And kudos to your company, Bill, that does gray water collection. And there's some fascinating things that the EPA does and has. So a lot of background on ways that you can save water and use it. But the amount of water that goes to our rivers is absolutely crazy. And the thing, again, I just want to end with this point, because this is kind of environmental chemist to me, is that one of the most significant sources of water pollution is the water runoff. So the rain that falls onto impervious surfaces is what the EPA calls non-point source pollution, and it's extremely significant. So feel sorry for the folks that are downriver from us. The ones down Patterson, down the Passaic, down Ramapo. I mean, all these rivers, they're collecting more and more runoff, and it's really the more runoff, the more pollution, the more pollution, the more runoff, the more pollution. And it's really, the more runoff, the more pollution, 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 the more pollu It's both the chemical pollution. It's also, you know, the stuff that gets washed away. You know, all the litter that gets washed away. But the chemical pollution is very significant from runoff. And nature has a way of dealing with that if it falls into the ground. I mean, kind of natural sedimentation and kind of percolation of the water into the ground actually makes it retrievable. And here in Wyckoff, we have wells that we use for our tapping water. So again, it's a very important topic. It's only getting more important. So yeah, so I know a bit more about this, but there's a good organization here in New Jersey called Waterworks, and they're getting ready to have a conference. But it's predominantly environmental engineers that are working on infrastructure, you know, kind of storm sewer runoffs and ways in which we have to really improve the infrastructure in New Jersey. And that's a big item beyond what towns are need to do in terms of managing rainwater runoff.
On that point, there's just real quick, there's some really cool videos that I watched recently. New York City's in the million, I think a $4 billion project. All those curb cuts that you just mentioned, John, or the water, preventing the water from going into the sewer system so that the sewer, essentially the sewer solids don't go into the bay, and it's just kept in the neighborhood rather than into the sewer system. We might need to do that in all of our towns.
Let's move along now. So this is something that, this is going to be a segue into something else I saw that's going back and forth on Basecamp. So like you saw recently, that California will be banning all gasoline-powered vehicles by 2035. So in 15 years, according to this new rule, there will not be the only gasoline vehicles, that's trucks also, will be used. They will not be allowed to sell any new gas cars or trucks in 15 years' time. This is fantastic. Do I think it'll survive? I hope so. 15 years is a long time. So with that said, though, I want to go into what New Jersey passed. This is this past year. And so this is New Jersey Law 2052. This is their initiative. They want to have, right now there's only 30,000 electric vehicles in New Jersey. They want that to be increased to 330,000 by 2025. So 5 years from now, or really. Also on the New Jersey Transit side, they want to, they want to increase by 10% of all the buses to be either fully electric or hybrid, 50% by 2026 and 100% by 2032. That's the New Jersey side. Why I'm bringing this up, both of these things up, is that there was a lot of back and forth on the electric vehicle. Now, we have nothing like this in Cresco. And I really want to know what have you guys done? How easy is it to do? And what are points? The last thing.
I guess I could start off. I know that, we've been thinking about this for a while. This is a difficult one because it does involve getting an ordinance passed. And I understand from talking with folks here in Glen Rock, and also I think Tracy seems to remember that it also involves getting the zoning board to look at it, or the planning board to look at it and agree with it. Usually they do things together with the council, but it's a kind of a big step. But now that we've received a couple of model ordinances from other towns like Maplewood, I think it's going to make it easier. Certainly, we've already done some of these things we've already done, amending the zoning ordinance is actually a very easy thing to do, to include EV charging stations as a permanent accessory use. And then,
by the way?
there's a list of other things that has to be done. So it, just requires, working with town officials to get it done. But I think it's a good idea.
Who pays for electricity, though?
What?
I'll
Okay,
speak
so
to this
that's-
issue. I'll speak to this. So I'm the one that posted the question. In Upper Saddleburg, we have a couple developments that are coming on, and we're trying to place electrical charging stations in those developments that are right along Route 17 to facilitate the adoption of electric cars by residents. And making that happen, as Ken has so much informed me and Ira Gross from our community, right? You can get companies like Tesla who will pay essentially for the bulk of the cost of installing it. So on Route 17, right between Upper Saddle River and Ramsey, for example, we have Uncle Giuseppe's supermarket. We're hopeful that we might put a charging station right there, right off 17 there, or right up the road there to facilitate it. What this Sustainable Jersey action is about is simply passing an ordinance that would allow the placement of electric chargers in any development as a permitted use. I used to be a development attorney. When a developer does something, the developer will often do everything that is a permitted use, and they will refrain from adding to their development anything that they need to do that requires a variance of some sort. So if you don't have this on the books and it's not explicitly permitted, it's very likely that the next office building, the next strip mall, the next whatever type of complex that goes up will not have charging stations for electric vehicles. All this does is make it a permitted use. It doesn't require anyone to do it. It doesn't ban anything. All it says, it gives developers the option to do it. In terms of your question, Bill, about what are points, Sustainable Jersey has a system where an individual municipality can be certified as sustainable, and you need to earn points every cycle. And if you get enough points, then you can be bronze certified, silver certified. So this is worth 10 points.
So,
Did I get that all right, Ken? You're
You're on
muted,
mute.
Ken.
Could you repeat that the question, Jay?
No, my question was just, did I get that all right? Did you agree with my summary?
Oh, this is a summary. Yeah, no, I think you do have it, and I'm really glad to hear that you see the opportunity of these developments that have been occurring along 17, because those are ideal spots to have charging stations. Glen Rock, it doesn't have that situation, unfortunately. Not being along a busy highway like that. So I think it's great.
who pays for electricity though? Is it the town or the like Uncle Giuseppe's will pay for it?
It depends on the circumstances. At Uncle Giuseppe's, it's probably going to be like a Tesla or a charge point in which the vehicle owner is going to pay for the electricity.
Oh, okay.
Other people might follow Glen Rock standard where it's just going to be free. And then in a residential complex, I don't know, an outdoor outlet might be tied to an individual condo owner. So that condo owner will pay for
Oh, okay.
that electricity use.
That's actually very cool. Okay.
But Jay, I definitely want us to keep in touch. I'd like to hear your progress, and I'll share mine.
If anyone hasn't heard, Tice's Corner in Woodcliff Lake has a new Tesla charging stations. I don't know if they're live yet, but if you happen to have a Tesla, it's going to be available there too.
Supercharger or the wall charger?
Supercharger. In fact, I heard it's the super duper charger.
Oh, really? That's great.
So-
Jay, is the Tesla charging stations, those are proprietary, aren't they? They're only for Teslas though, right?
Yes, only for Teslas.
Yeah, so like if you were doing it as part of a community thing, you'd probably want to go with a more broadly available charge point or whoever it might be, just because all the companies are coming out with electric vehicles, and I think Tesla might be the only one that has proprietary charging technology.
Completely agree, Ben. That's the plan.
Interesting.
In Glen Rock, when we put our chargers in, we have one of each. So we have a universal charger, which is the standard plug for everything else, and then we have one that's Tesla only. They're level 2 chargers.
Okay. Let's jump to green teams. So anything happened in each of your teams that you want to share? Start with, I don't know, Oakland, are you online?
Yeah, I'm here. We launched our seed bank a couple weeks ago, our library seed bank, and have gotten a pretty great response. People are really excited about it. Let's see. I think that's all I can think of right now. Thanks.
Let me go on the list. Ordell? Any green team?
Yeah, we received the $10,000 grant from the Sustainable Jersey last year from the energy grant, and we purchased solar generators. They're portable, and we're using them now at the farmers market, and we can take them, you know, to town events and power up that way, so we don't have to use gas powered generators, and it's all solar.
Fantastic.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Marguerite, are they the Tesla chargers?
No, they're solar generators that, you know, the farmer can plug in his refrigerators, or if you're in
Oh,
town,
generators.
you know,
Okay.
fair or something, or, you know, whoever needs them. They're portable, so they can, you know, be
Right.
transported to wherever they might be needed.
Right.
But Oriole did put in 2 electric charging stations. I just saw them getting finished.
Mhm.
They're not ready to use yet because they're trying to figure out who's going to pay for the electricity and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But they're, you know, basically ready to go and all installed. And I think that was part of the Volkswagen reparations. So we got a lot of the funding from that. And
Anyone
that's
else?
it.
Wyckoff?
Yeah, so in Wyckoff, I think I covered some of these last time, but we had a shredding event a couple weeks ago. I think they filled a 20-yard, whatever it's called, trailer with shredded paper. Also collected prescription drugs, people that wanted to turn those in. The police did that. It was all done by the DPW and the police, and there were no volunteers allowed for COVID reasons. This weekend, we're doing our annual, like, it's called Team Up to Tidy Up. It's basically a litter event. People go out to different locations. Again, it's going to be interesting because it's, you know, COVID rules apply. So basically a family could sign up and then they would get assigned to a specific location. And they're going to be given instructions on, here's what you do with garbage, here's what you do with recycles, and trying to keep them separate and make sure we don't just throw away whatever recycles they may pick up. And then we are planning to do some events at the 2 grocery stores in town. I'm not sure when this is going to be, but it's related to a grant we got a couple years ago, I think, for reusable bags. It's an informational event. And also, I think the other piece of that grant required us to do some movie presentations that we had been planning at the library, but the last one never got done. So they're going to do a live streaming of that at the end of October sometime, which hopefully some people will watch at home. I think that's an interesting way to approach it, given the challenges of the times.
Talk about shredding. So I ran the shredding event in my town this past weekend, and nothing says recycling like your truck catching on fire.
Jeez.
So it was a great day. We had it was a great outcome. We had the thing almost like 90% full, and then I guess someone put a battery in the shredding. We tried to, and it just caught on fire. It was just
Oh my gosh.
terrible
Oh my
end to a great day.
Wow.
Postal, I mean, it happens. Things like that happen. We were able to bring it all to DPW, empty it there so they can hose it down, and then put it back in the truck to take away. So it was a bit of a pain. On the flip side, though, we are working on we have some trails around here that we're devastated by the storm Isaiah. So we had the Boy Scouts clean them up, fix them up, and now they're posted on all trails. And now we're doing a pitch of getting everyone outside. We're having a trail day, so everyone outside rather than getting stuck indoors, especially when it gets nice weather outside. And also we're doing a movie in the park, which one of those nights is going to be just environmental. So that's, we're trying to pick a movie we can rent from Anjak that we can show. And it'll be a nice, take some blankets out to the park. Since we used to do it in the library, but that's not going to happen. So we're renting one of the fields and having a nice movie in the park event. So that's what Cresco is doing.
In Upper Saddle River, I'll report a couple things. I appeared before our Board of Education. Following what I learned when we went down to Glen Rock, I suggested an addition to the curriculum, and I'm going to try to start composting at the middle school. Not actually making composting, but just getting the kids to compost at the middle school. Separately, I put forth an idea of facilitating bat habitat to offset mosquitoes within the community. I thought the kids could learn about nocturnal animals. And a second segment could be the positive and negatives associated with pesticides and insecticides. And the third part is we have a woodworking part of our curriculum at the middle school. So I thought the kids, as an alternative to building a birdhouse or a box, they could build a bat house and put a bat house up in their backyard or in the town park. After I made that presentation, the following day, the curriculum director called me up. I went down and met, and I'm very hopeful that some of those ideas might be adopted and incorporated into the curriculum. And then on a grander scale, I've been thinking about this for a while, since I'm now working with Ira Gross, who's very energized. I'm hoping in Upper Saddle River, if you know our Hess Park, we have one part of the parking area that is adjacent to a hill. I'm hoping to put some solar panels on the hill, ground-mounted solar panels on the hill, or possibly carports where we might have some coverage on the far side of the hill to produce solar, either for the municipality or possibly that could be a basis for community-based solar. Since I know a lot of people in town who want to use solar, but their houses are too shaded. But we have a big open area there and there's lots of sunshine, so maybe that will get some traction. We'll see. That's it for me.
Glen Rock, I think one piece of news is that Glen Rock joined the Sustainable Essex Alliance, the energy aggregation alliance of 6 towns within Essex that use enhanced renewable energy. That was just done in the early part of September, so that is very new. They went out to bid, but unfortunately the bids were not acceptable. We didn't get any offers that would provide any savings. So we will continue to go out to bid in the next few months in an effort to anticipate we'll get an acceptable bid. The product is a 43% renewable compared to the 22% product that PSENG offers with basic service. And there's a opt-up option for 100% renewable product that has a slightly greater cost. And I don't know, Ben, if you wanted to add anything else? We've already talked about styrofoam.
Yeah, that and the styrofoam pretty much covers it. Thanks.
That's it.
Did we cover everybody? I think we did.
This is Mark, Ridgefield Park.
Yes, sir.
Just 2 things. First one is we started a program where when we take down trees, for example, in the last storm, where they may have snapped off and a large part of the trunk is still healthy and viable, we're cutting those down and storing those. We're going to saw them up to be used for the wood shop and for our high school. And the second one is, because we're having trouble with recreation programs this year with COVID, we tried something different. We did an archery clinic last week. We didn't really think we would have much in the way of people showing up. We thought maybe if we got 15 or 20 people, that would be about it. We got over 100 people, and it was a huge success, especially with parents, because it was something that they could do with their kids. We often had the child would shoot, and then the adult would shoot. Typically, with recreation programs, the parent is sitting in the car watching the kid. And in this case, they were actually able to participate together, and it was a big win. And we're going to start to look into other opportunities we can do that. So that's it for me.
You know, a quick update from Ramsey. We received a grant from ANJAC, an open space stewardship grant. And as part of that, we teamed with a couple of Boy Scout troops to clean up our bike trail to get rid of some of the invasive species. So they started that on the 21st. They were so successful in collecting so many of the invasive species. They filled up so many bags, they ran out of daylight. They'll be going back out to continue along the trail. As part of this grant, we are getting 3 kiosks that we're going to put in well-traveled locations to make sure that folks in town are aware of the bike trail. And this is all going to support our push for expanding the bike trail. You know, with everybody out and about walking and riding in town, we think that it's really an opportune time to really push for expanding the bike trail and making sure that it gets, people can use it to get to key locations in the town. The other thing, you know, our farmers market is going strong. We also had a shredding event, and we are continuing with putting together our documentation for our sustainable jersey submission. And unfortunately, our Ramsey Day was canceled. That's typically when we do our cleanup day. So I'm not sure exactly how we're going to address that going forward. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. I hope. Okay. So now I guess we're just going to see about who's going to host next month. Again, I apologize for the short timeline. I'm used to a static date. We have ours like every 3rd Wednesday of the month, so it's an easy date that everybody remembers. But sorry for the short data for this one. I'm glad everyone showed up, even with the holiday up here. I recorded it, and then I'll post on YouTube for those who came late or could not make the entire meeting.
I know that Glen Rock is not able to host the next meeting, but we would like to do it maybe in December if we have one, or certainly first thing in January, the new year.
Anybody? Bueller?
And I'll host it. This is up Jay from Upper Salt River. I think I did it sometime, maybe, I guess it's been beyond 6 months. So I'm happy to host it. Another Zoom meeting, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can coordinate that. At this point, do we want to try to select a date, or do I want to do a doodle survey? What is that, doodle survey?
That's what I should have done this time. Yeah, doodle. Unless you want to do a date now, I mean, if you guys want to do, that's why I put the calendar up there to know what's coming up. We do have, Columbus Day on the 12th, and then of course Halloween, which just have most towns are still doing Halloween though, right? It hasn't been canceled.
We've been told that the big neighborhood in town, it will be closed. People may not gather there. The mayor's asked everyone, if you do it, please stay to your immediate residential neighborhood.
Okay, well, that makes sense. That does make sense. I mean, but they're wearing masks anyway. That's what I thought about the whole Halloween thing. I just feel bad for the kids. I mean, their whole life has been made so memorable this past year. So, do a thing like Halloween. Hopefully, they can enjoy. Okay, so we'll do a doodle thing,
Okay.
and thank you guys.
Thank you.
Let me host.
Yeah, thanks for hosting.
Yeah, thank you for hosting.
Thank you.
William, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for hosting.
Take care,
Bye,
everyone.
There we go.
Have fun, John.
Bye, guys.